Hi and welcome. Let's see about iteration statements now. Now, what is the meaning of iteration? This word iteration. So, iteration means running the same block of code many times. Now, for example, I am giving you some value of n50 and I am telling you to print all the numbers between 1 to n. Print all the numbers between 1 to n. What you can do? You can simply write print 1, print 2, print 3 and so on till print 50. Correct? The same block of code with some values changing is being repeated again and again. That is called iteration. Fine. So reduce this number of lines of code to reduce the work. Iteration in programming languages is implemented using loops. Fine. Now we can have definite iteration, or we can have indefinite iteration. What is the meaning? What is the difference? The difference is that when we say definite iteration, we know beforehand how many times will the loop run. The same task has been performed again and again in a loop. So how many times will this loop run? For example, we know here because of value of n that this particular we have to print till 1 to n, so n times it will run. Before starting the loop, we know its starting point and its ending point. That is definite. The number of iterations inside the loop is already known. What is indefinite? The number of iterations inside the loop, we do not know about them. Means we do not know how many times the loop will run beforehand. Based on some condition, the loop will exit, the loop will stop, but beforehand we do not know it. So that is definite iteration and indefinite iteration. Generally, for definite iteration, for loop is used, and for indefinite iteration, while loop is used. Fine. We will start the discussion that what is a while loop, how a while loop works, what is the syntax of the while loop, and so on, and then we will move on to for loop. Okay, so let's start with while loop. In almost all the loops, we will have that a loop variable. Okay, a loop variable. This will indicate some condition to stop the loop. Okay, first of all, we will initialize this variable with some value. Then there will be some boolean condition. Okay, if the condition is true, then the loop executes, and if the condition is false, the loop breaks. And there will be this, either this loop variable will increment or this loop variable will decrement. Depends. We'll see. These three things are there in both the loops, while loop and for loops. Okay. So what about this while loop? The syntax of while loop is that we will write a keyword while. Okay. Inside this, we will have an expression. Fine. And this will be a conditional expression, that will be a boolean expression, just like if else. Okay. That means here this whatever expression result will be, either it will be true or false. Fine. And then we will have our code block. That means whatever the code we want to write inside this while loop. If this condition, if this expression returns me a true, then we will go inside this code block, else we will break the loop. We will go to the next whatever code is written. Fine, understand this. Let's take a very small example. Let's say my I equals to 10. Now I will write that while I is greater than 0, okay, print I and I equals to I minus 1. Understand this, how this loop will work. Let's see step by step. First of all, we'll have a variable with value 10 initialized. Fine, I is 10. Now we check while I is greater than 0. While I is greater than 0, these two lines will be executed. And it's pretty simple. So is I greater than 0? Yes, 10 is greater than 0. This is true. So we will print 10, the value of I. And then I value decrements to 9. So when I value decrements to 9, now again it will go here. Again the condition will be checked. While I is greater than 0. Yes, still 9 is greater than 0. So we will print I, print 9. And again I equals to I minus 1 and I will be decremented to 8. And now again we will go back, check the same condition. Is I greater than 0? Yes, it is. Print I, we print 8. Decrement I by 1, we decrement I by 1 to 7. Now again we go to the condition and check it. Is I greater than 0? Yes, it is. So print 7, decrement I by 1, and so on. All the values will be printed. Okay. And when I becomes 0 and this condition is checked, so is I greater than 0. So when I value is 0, I greater than 0, this condition becomes false. Now as soon as the condition becomes false, now these two lines will not be executed and we will go outside the while loop, and whatever the code is present, if it is present, it will be executed step by step. So whatever is present inside the block of while loop will only be executed if this condition remains true. Till this condition remains true, this block of code will be executed. As soon as the condition becomes false, the while loop breaks. Pretty simple, correct? Let's take more examples. Suppose you are given n value as 50 and they are saying to print all even numbers between 1 to 50. Just print all the even numbers between 1 to 50. How you can do? Let's initialize. My n value is 50. Okay. While my I is less than or equal to n. While my I is less than or equals to n, let's say I begins with 1 because I want to start my condition with 1. Correct? Now we will print only if it is an even number. We have to print I only if I is an even number. What is the condition for that? The condition for checking an even number is that it should be divisible by 2. That means if I take mod of I by 2, it should be 0. Understand this. Condition for even number. Even number condition is that I divided by 2, I should be definitely be divisible by 2. That means remainder should be 0. So therefore I can directly use mod operator here. So if I mod 2 equal to 0, we are printing I. Fine. And now outside this if, I will do I equals to I plus 1, not inside this if. Fine. So this is my while block and this red one is the if block inside of the while block. Fine. Okay, great. So how this will run? Let's see. My I value begins with 1. It will go to less than equals to 50. Is 1 mod 2 equal to 0? 1 mod 2 is equal to 1. So this condition is false. We will not print I, and I value increments to 2. Now we will go to this. Is 2 less than equals to 50? Yes, 2 is less than equals to 50. So now 2 mod 2 equal to 0. Is 2 mod 2 equal to 0? Yes, it is true. So therefore we will print true. And I increments, so I becomes 3. Now again we check the condition. Is 3 less than equals to 50? Yes, 3 is less than equals to 50. Is 3 mod 2, now this if condition will be checked. Is 3 mod 2 equal to 0? No, it is not. So we will not print 3 and I will become 4. Then we will print 4, then 6, then 8 till we reach 50. As soon as I becomes more than 50, this condition becomes false and we break the loop. So I hope you understood how the while loop works. There is one way to do it. There is one more simple way. It is not necessary that you have to increment I or any loop variable that you are using by only 1. It is not necessary to do it. It is not that you have to increment by 1 only. So suppose I start my I with 2, n is 50, and while I is less than equals to n, I simply print I and I increment I by 2. I can increment I by 2. Okay, so this is nothing but writing I equals to I plus 2. This is a short form for that, plus equals to. You can do this for all the operators, means I equals to I minus 1 can be written as I minus equals to 1. I equals to I multiplied by 2 can be written as I multiply equals to 2. Same for division. So all these 4 operators are valid for this. Okay, so I plus equals to 2 means I equals to I plus 2. Now I am incrementing I by 2 each time. So first 2 will be printed, then 4, then 6. Now I is not incrementing by 1 each time. I value starts with 2, and then 2 plus 2 it becomes 4, then 4 plus 2 it becomes 6, then 6 plus 2 it becomes 8, and so on. Understanding this? So this value that we are incrementing does not necessarily say that you have to increment by only 1, depends on the logic. Fine. And as we are incrementing, we can decrement also. I can start my I with 50. Now while I is greater than 0, print I and decrement I by 2. Now let's say decrement I by 5. So first 50 will be printed, then 50 will be decremented by 5 to 45, then 45 will be printed, then decremented to 40, then 40 will be printed, then 35, then 35 will be printed, and so on. Each time I will be decremented by 5 and its value is getting printed till this condition is true. So as soon as I becomes 0, we will stop, or I becomes less than 0, we will stop. Fine. As soon as the condition is false, we stop. Understanding this? And whatever after this stop, if I print, let's say loop ends, if I just print this loop ends, so after this breaks, we will directly get loop ends will be printed. So whatever the code is there, not just one line, whatever the code is there, that will be executed as it is, line by line. Okay, inside while whatever is there will be only executed till this condition is true. That is the basics of while loop. Okay, you can increment the loop variable, decrement the loop variable. We can have, like, if we can have multiple conditions inside while. So while I is less than equals to n and I mod 2 equal to 0, then only go inside. That is also a condition, means you do not have to write if here. We can directly write these two conditions, and end will evaluate true or false. We will use while or for loop, means almost in every program, like if else. So there will be a lot of practice for them. Fine, these are very basics of coding, any programming language, loops. Okay. So definitely we will see the code part of while. We will code all these examples, and you will be better able to understand when we code them. Fine. So we have seen the normal while loop. Now let's see break and continue statement. So what are these? So how a while loop executes is, we have a while loop. We will have a condition here, depends on which we go inside, correct? We will have some statements, statement 1, statement 2, some statements. Fine. Suppose we have a break somewhere. According to some condition, we have a break, and then we have some more statements. Fine. And then here there is, after this while loop, there is some code snippet. So what this break does, this will be executed, this will be executed, all these statements will be executed. As soon as break is encountered, no other statement will be executed. The while loop will break and move forward after the while loop. That is what break does. Depends on the logic when we need it. But this is what break does. Break will stop the execution of the while loop there and there, Not only while loop, it also works in for loop. Exactly the same. All the statements before break will be executed, and after break it will simply exit the loop. Done, over. That is what break does. And what about continue? Continue. What continue does is, while there will be condition and there will be statements, statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Let's say we have continue, and then we have some more statements, statements 5, statement 6, and so on. And then the loop, after the loop ends, there is some code snippet. So what continue does is, in continue also statement, after these nothing will be executed. In continue also, means statement 1, 2, 3 will be executed, but 5, 6, 7 will not be executed, any other statement. But continue will not break the loop. What continue says that after this point, simply go back to the condition check, start the loop again, iteration again. Okay, simply go back to the condition check and follow just do what we did after all the statements ended. What continue does, it forces the while loop. As soon as the continue is encountered, it will start the iteration again. It goes back to condition checking. No other statements will be executed. So these is my break and continue. For example, let's suppose n is 10. So while n is greater than 0, it will run. Fine. n equals to n minus 1. Now if my n mod 2 is not equal to 0, break. That means if it is an odd number, then break. If n is an odd number, break the loop. Else print n. Print n. Fine. So what it is saying, that my n will starts with 10 till it is greater than 0, the loop actually wanted to run. But what we did is, as soon as we are encountering an odd number, we are breaking the loop. So for n equals to 10, that n equals to n minus 1, so it becomes 9. So as soon as 9 becomes, so n 9 mod 2 is not equal to 0, it is a odd number, so we will break the loop here and there. There is no other loop, no other line will be executed, loop is done. Whatever afterwards loop there, statements are there, those will be executed, but the loop is over. Fine. What if I, instead of this, if I am writing continue, then it continues back. It continues back, 9 is greater than 0, it becomes 8, and we will print 8. Then it goes back, it becomes 7. If it is 7, nothing will be printed, we'll continue back. That is what continue does. Fine. But break will simply break the loop. Now they are widely used, depends on the logic of the question. Where do we need them? They will be used in logic building and other codes. But this is what theoretically break and continue is, and these are the examples. Fine. So now let's see implement these various things, basic loops, even odd cases. Okay, let's implement them and see implementation. So very basic example, let's I equals to 5 and let's say n equals to 50, while I is less than equals to n, okay, print I and increment I by 5, let's say I plus equals to 5. So can you guys just see what it will print without running it? Just think about it and just verify. So it will print 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 till 50. Each time I is incremented by 5. Pretty simple. Okay. Now let's comment this out. And now what we can do is, let's print all odd numbers, or let's say print all or even numbers. So I equals to 2, n equals to 100. I want to print all even numbers between 2 to 100. So while I is less than equals to n, fine, print I and I plus equals to 2. Okay, and here what we can do is we can make end equals to break, so it will print in a single line. So this will print all even numbers from 2 to 100 in a single line. If I want to print all odd numbers, I will start with 1, okay, and I will again plus equals to 2, so 1 3 5 7, each time incrementing by 2. So now all odd numbers are printed between 1 to 100. Fine. So let's see break statement now inside of it. So I want to break, let's say, after I reaches 50. Okay, so if I is greater than 50, in that particular scenario, break. And after this, let me print loop ended. Okay, so now, and a new line before that. So when we run it, you can see that 1 3 5 7, and as soon as we reach 49, and after 49 it will go to 51, which is greater than 50. So therefore loop breaks and we printed loop ended on a new line. Fine. So that is how break works. So these all things are not done here. Fine. Let's suppose I use continue instead of break. So if suppose I do not want to print 71, or let's say 11, I do not want to print 11. So if I is 11, I will not print it, rest it will work as it is. So if you run it, see here, if I equal to 11, we are continuing. So these lines are not working. Now if these lines are not working, that means I plus equals to 2 is not working. And if I plus equals to 2 is not working, I is not being incremented. Correct? If I is not being incremented, it is stuck to 11 infinitely. Hence the loop is running infinitely. This is an infinite loop. So your conditions should be really clear with you. Now here the issue is, see, I equals to 11, so we are continuing, and since we are continuing, it is going back to line number 10. So line number 13 and 14 are not working, and since line number 14 is not working, I is not being incremented, I is stuck to being 11. So this loop is an infinite loop. What we can do is, we can write this, that increment 2 and then continue. Now if I run it, see, except 11, all the numbers between 1 to 100, all odd numbers are being printed except 11. You can see after 9 we got 13. Now it is not an infinite loop. And after the loop ends, we are simply running whatever is there outside this loop. Okay, so I hope you understood what is break, what is continue. This break and continue works similarly in for loop, and how while works. Fine. You can have multiple conditions here, just like if. So it, whatever condition you are writing here with relational operators, conditional operators, it should evaluate to true or false, then it is fine. If it is false, loop will break, and till it is true, the loop will run.